recording. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. So what's in urine? The pH is in this range. It has a certain density, specific gravity. The osmotic concentration is between 855 to 1335 milliosmoles. We said it's 93 to 97% water, 700 to 2,000 milliliters per day, clear yellow, odor varies, and it's sterile. So fresh water has a concentration of 5 milliosmoles, body fluid is 300. So the concentration as measured by the osmotic pressure, remember osmosis is the movement of substances through a semi-permeable membrane, which helps control how much water moves from the tubules to the back to the blood, or just the opposite. Okay, so kidney function and urine formation. This is a little small, but you'll be able to look at this PowerPoint. Okay, so the glomerulus is where blood enters the blood vessels of the renal capsule. There's filtration. Proximal convoluted tubule is going to reabsorb water and reabsorb uh, uh, things like glucose and amino acids and sodium and chloride and potassium, some potassium bicarbonate. And then the primary purpose of the descending limb of the loop of Henle is to reabsorb water, which ends up back in the blood. The primary purpose of the ascending limb is to pump a co-transport, pump sodium and chloride. That's going to end up back in the blood. The distal convoluted tubule is also going to uh, continue to absorb sodium and chloride back into the interstitial space. Um, there's also an aldosterone regulated pump, which pumps sodium back and eliminates potassium. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so movement of fluids depend upon diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. So water follows salt. So remember, osmosis is the movement of a substance through a semipermeable membrane to the region where there's the highest concentration of solute. So there's some diffusion. Osmosis is a major factor because water moves, it follows the salt. And you can also have special uh, channels that uh, pump sodium and chloride, for instance, out of the ascending limb. Okay, so the blood vessels and movement of blood into the glomerulus from the afferent arteriole and leaving the uh, glomerulus from the efferent, that blood pressure in the uh, glomerulus, which is affected by the blood pressure in the afferent and afferent arterioles, and that's going to help control glomerular filtration rate. And sympathetic activation can vasoconstrict the afferent arteriole, which decreases glomerular filtrate. And the sympathetic system is very important in controlling the diameter of blood vessels throughout the body, in particular the kidney, because variation in pressure is going to influence how much filtrate is formed. So we've been talking about uh, control of kidney function. There's all these hormones, angiotensin 2, aldosterone, antidiuretic hormone, and atrial natriuretic peptide. So we'll continue to describe these. Let's keep doing that. So here's diagram of what happens if there's a decrease in blood flow to the kidneys. So you're going to have decreased pressure, decreased formation of filtrate. The juxtaglomerular apparatus is going to release renin, which is converted into angiotensin 2, and that is going to do multiple things. COVID virus interacts with the receptors for angiotensin 2 in the lungs. So this angiotensin 2 is going to constrict the efferent arterioles so that the pressure will go up in the glomerulus. It's going to have the adrenal glands release aldosterone. It's going to have central nervous system stimulate the thirst center, increase ADH production, and that's going to, between aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone, it's going to increase sodium retention, which leads to water following the ions. Again, more retention of fluid, constriction of the venous reservoirs, which is going to result from sympathetic tone, increased cardiac output, and increased peripheral vasoconstriction. So this constriction of the venous reservoirs is going to help maintain and stop water loss, and so that everything can be returned, so that you increase glomerular pressure. So increase in blood volume through fluid retention, and increase the blood pressure by constricting the venous reservoirs. That's going to drive pressure up in the veins. Cardiac output is going to help restore blood volume and move more blood around the body. And peripheral vasoconstriction is going to push up the pressure of the blood by resisting the output of blood from the heart. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. So we'll get into some of this detail. So let's stop there again and keep going. So we're going to stop recording there and stop recording, stop recording, stop recording.